द्वैत गदाधर शिवाशादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
जय
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय।
जय
वृंदावन धाम की जय।
जय
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय।
जय
गंगा माई की जय।
जय
जमुना माई की जय।
जय
तुलसी देवी की जय।
जय
भक्ति देवी की जय।
जय
समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय।
जय
गौर प्रेमानंदे।
हरि बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Shami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading and discussing and studying Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, chapter 17, the Lord's pastimes in his youth, text 158. And Lord Chaitanya is having a discussion with Habibara Rahmana. Do you know Habibara Rahmana?
You call him Chand Kazi?
Yes. And I don't say our regular Bengali chanters are not here. I see that Krishna Kirtan is here. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. Are you there? No? I thought I saw him.
I'm here.
Would you like to chant the Bengali since you're not far? Odia?
I can do. Can I get 10 minutes?
What do you mean 10 minutes from when?
From now.
Oh, okay, sure, later then. Let me know when you're available. Okay, I'll just chant that. Text 158. Tomar vedete ache govadhera vani ata eva govadha kare bada muni. Refuting the Kazi's statement, the Lord immediately replied, the Vedas, I don't know what happens. There we are. As a learned scholar, the Kazi challenged Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In your Vedic scriptures, there is an injunction for killing a cow. On the strength of this injunction, great sages, Bada Muni, performed sacrifices involving cow killing. Text 159. Prabhu kohe, Vede kohe go vada nishedha. Ate eva Hindu matra na kore go vardha. Refuting the Kazi's statement, the Lord immediately replied, the Vedas clearly enjoin that cows should not be killed. Therefore, every Hindu, whoever he may be, avoids indulging in cow killing. Purport. In the Vedic scriptures, there are concessions for meat eaters. It is said that if one wants to eat meat, he should kill a goat before the goddess Kali and then eat its meat. Meat eaters are not allowed to purchase meat or flesh from a market or slaughterhouse. There are no sanctions for maintaining regular slaughterhouses to satisfy the tongues of meat eaters. As far as cow killing is concerned, it is completely forbidden. Since the cow is considered the mother, how could the Vedas allow cow killing? Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out that the Qazi's statement was faulty. In the Bhagavad Gita, 1844, there is a clear injunction that cows should be protected. Krishi Goraksha Vanijam Vaishya Karma Svabhavajam. The duty of Vaishyas is to produce agricultural products, trade, and give protection to cows. Therefore, it is a false statement that the Vedic scriptures contain injunctions permitting cow killing. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadavaikam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask the blessings and permission from all the Vaishnavas, and particularly those who are senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. This is a very interesting exchange between Lord Chaitanya and Habibara Rahamana, also known as Chankazi. So Lord Chaitanya, in his discussion with Chankazi, from the previous verses, we see that he didn't start out with this argument, but at some point he brought this up, saying that you drink cow's milk? And Kazi says, yes, yes. So he wasn't a vegan. And therefore the cow is your mother, and the bull produces grains by plowing the field, and therefore he's like your father. So what kind of religion allows you to kill your father and mother? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't speaking on the basis of the Vedas. He was speaking on the basis of just common morality. What common morality would allow you to kill your father and your mother? Patricide and matricide. So then Chankazi, he counters the argument by saying this, but in your Vedas, there's also injunctions for cow killing. So we can gather from that Chankazi, being the magistrate there in Bengal, especially in Navadvip, which was a center of learning, and in order to keep and understand how to deal with his subjects or the people there that he was overseeing, he had to have some familiarity with their beliefs and their practices in religion. So he must have been familiar with that. Otherwise, how would he say that? Not only that statement, he must be also familiar with other statements. So anyway, I don't know if you've ever heard this statement that, the Vedas give license for cow killing and horse killing by this Jagya, Ashvamedha Jagya, which are mentioned quite frequently in the texts of the Vedas, including Srimad Bhagavatam. Prithu Maharaj did many horse sacrifices, Ashvamedha Yagya. Yudhishthira Maharaj also. after the Battle of Kurukshetra, did a horse sacrifice. And also the cow sacrifice is mentioned. But Lord Chaitanya, speaking from the authority of the Vedas and his own authority, both, clearly explains that those sacrifices were done in bygone ages when the Brahmins were qualified to chant mantras that would bring the offered animal a new body. Now, this is very magical, isn't it? These mantras, uh, aside from Harry Potter, and these mantras had actual effect. The mantras were chanted, and they had a magical effect. But it's not just a story. But in this Kali Yuga, because people aren't practiced in chanting the mantras according to meter and accent, so the mantras can't be chanted properly. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya will say, Ashvamedha Gavalamban Sanyasya Palapaitrakan. The Ashvamedha Yagya and the Gomedha Yagya are forbidden because the mantras chanted won't be effective anymore. So Chandkazi is bringing in the Vedas, and Lord Chaitanya therefore says, every Hindu, whoever he may be, does not indulge in cow killing. He doesn't say every Muslim. He doesn't say that. He says every Hindu. So this is very interesting. So the mantras have a special effect. We saw in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the son of Shamik Rishi named Shringi, he chanted a mantra by which the king would be killed in 7 days. Even in the Kali Yuga time, when Marco Polo, he was an Italian businessman. He went with his uncle. He traveled to the east, and he spent some time in the court of the great Khan in China, Kublai Khan. And in that court, there were Brahmins. Kublai Khan had employed Brahmins, and he described how those Brahmins were able to bring things from faraway places and levitate things in his description by mantra. So later, when he came back to Italy and he gave a book, The Travels of Marco Polo. Actually, he was a very diehard Catholic, but he did describe how he saw these wonderful things done by mantra. But the Catholic people at the time, particularly those who were religious organizers, they went to him and they said, before you die, you have to say that this was not true. You have to, at least that's the history, repent, saying all these wonderful things happened and when you went to the East. And he said, actually, I've only told a very brief, small portion of what I saw. So even at that time, that was like 11th century. At that time, Brahmins still had some potency to chant mantras, to do wonderful things. But as the Kali Yuga is progressing, more and more, the ability of the Brahmins to chant accurately the Vedic mantras has degenerated. Even when we chant, if you listen carefully, we chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. What is it?
Prabhu Nityananda.
Okay. But you hear it most of the time, probably 80%, 90% of the time you hear it Prabhu Nityananda with a short A first and a long A. That's even with the Hare Krishna movement. Even though those people have been practicing Hare Krishna for years and years, Nityananda, whereas it's Nityananda. those problems go on. Well, this chanting is effective if done properly, but nobody's doing it properly. And that's what happened was, because this was the practice of certain Brahmins to arrange for these kind of sacrifices, but because their mantras were no longer effective, but that's what all they knew. That was their business of doing these kinds of sacrifices. Therefore, they put forward the idea, just as Chandkazi is doing, that these sacrifices are meant for killing animals and eating the meat. That's all they knew. Okay, well, they had to keep doing their avocation. So that's the one of the causes for Lord Buddha to come. Because on the plea, on the supposed authority of the Vedas, people were misconstruing the Vedic rituals and rules to justify the slaughter of animals, including the cow. So Lord Buddha came and said, forget it, forget the Vedas, just follow me. And the first thing is ahimsa, be nonviolent. In the yogic teachings, those people who want to advance by practicing yoga, there are 8 limbs of yoga: yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. The first is yam niyam. Yam means some restriction. And the first of the yams, according to Patanjali, is, guess what?
Do's.
Ahimsa. Ahimsa. So anybody who wants to practice yoga, who wants to make advancement in the yoga practice, the first thing is ahimsa. Don't do harm. And that's on the gross level to the humans and animals and others, and on the greater level in the mental level, to the environmental level. So that's the first step. So Lord Chaitanya is refuting this argument, which we've heard many times also. People say, oh, I think in the Vedas there's some arrangement for killing of cows. But that's not cow killing, really. It's rejuvenating the animal. Comments, questions? You know that we've said that in the Vedas there's allowance for cow killing. It was interesting. I think I mentioned here that Srila Prabhupada was having a discussion with Dr. Patel, and Dr. Patel said there should be no eating of meat at all. And Srila Prabhupada argued, no. There's allowance in Vedas for eating meat, like this Kali, once a month on the dark moon night, not in a slaughterhouse, once a month on a dark moon night, killing the goat in front of Goddess Kali, offering the goat to the Goddess Kali. Actually, Goddess Kali doesn't like the meat. She's a Vaishnavi, but her associates, Pishacha, means witches, they like that. And you have to chant the mantra into the ear of the goat. Okay, in this life, I'm killing you. I'm the human, you're the goat. In next life, you can be the human, I'll be the goat, you can kill me. So that's a smart person will realize this is not a good thing. But Srila Prabhupada argued that the Vedic system, not for his followers, we're not talking about his followers, no, but in the Vedic system, there's going to be a class always that will be desirous of eating animal flesh. So there's some allowance for it, restriction, once a month. So he argued that way with Dr. Patel, which was very interesting. The allowance is there, but never the cow. Krishna Kirtan, comments?
Yeah. So, it's a very, very interesting subject. We mainly to learn from this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu handled that situation, even though it was Muslims who are ruling. And same how Prabhupada handled, because many times it's very easily we can get agitated why somebody is doing something. But you pointed out, therefore, every Hindu, whoever he may be, avoids indulging in cow killing. So that way he made, divisions of society will be there, looks like. That will be there, people who will eat. But those who want to claim themselves, practice Hinduism, they must follow the rules, except the cows as mother and bulls are father. But it's very easy to get agitated. Oh, why these people are killing these innocent cows and everything? There can be conflicts, there can be arguments, there can be violence. And there can be also feeling of, oh, this is not a religion. I don't know how many think that because of this it's not a religion, because violence is involved, it's not a religion. And that's a many disrespect also. On the other hand, by the name of religion, so many speculations happen that people do anything they want, just like jihad or that's what I was trying to bring up. How should we follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada? How calmly they handled it, and just practice and preach.
Yes. So it's interesting that even in the Vedas, people misinterpret the Vedas in various ways, and some people will say, "Oh, as following or similar to the Chankazi, they'll misinterpret the Vedas and say, "Oh, the Vedas enjoin cow killing and horse killing," and some people will interpret the Vedas to say that God is impersonal, has no form, has no quality, and in the form of God, any form of God you imagine is as good as any other form. That's one interpretations. So, but that's not the understanding in the parampara given by the acharyas. So similarly, in Islam also, over time there's certain interpretations of the Quran and the Old Testament that become predominant. So, for example, nowadays in Islam, it's practically a very important point, even though there's quite a few descriptions of God having a face, etc. But the God is an impersonal being, however that works out. And but in the early days of Islam, there were Islamic scholars who proposed that God is a person, and they had great followings. Lord Chaitanya later, when he's coming back from Vrindavan with three associates, he is chanting the holy name and he goes into a swoon, and some patan. You say patan? How do you say that? Some soldiers come and yeah. So they think, oh, this sannyasi must have had some gold, and these people, they gave him some kind of poison, dutura, which also something like a morning glory, dutura poison, and so they took his gold, and now so let's arrest them. So they were just arrested. They arrested them, but then Lord Chaitanya finally awoke and they said, no, these are my associates. So then they had a discussion with one of the Patan soldiers. Among the soldiers, there was another peer. A peer means sadhu, mostly a Sufi sadhu. So Lord Chaitanya had a discussion. And in that discussion, he described how in the Quran, there's an explanation that God, Allah, is blackish in color. Isn't that interesting? So in that discussion, the peer, the sadhu, the Muslim sadhu, accepted that. Nowadays, nobody's going to accept that. Nobody will accept that now, but at that time they could certainly accept it. So over time, different interpretations of the scriptures, whether it's the Vedas or the Quran, that takes precedence or prominence, whereas other ones become less less understood or less prominent. During the time of Shankaracharya, the impersonal understanding of the Vedas was prominent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought forward the idea of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, that teaching that simultaneously God is personal and impersonal, simultaneously one and different. And he's also he has his energies, but he's the source of those energies. So both are existent, but of the personal and impersonal, the personal is the higher object, the ultimate last word in understanding the absolute truth. So these things go on. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in this incident with Chandkazi and also with the Sufi Pir, he emphasized a certain understanding of the scriptures because Dharma tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Religion is not many, it's one. And the meaning of religion is what's given by God. So here is God, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, giving us, explaining the accurate understanding of the scriptures, Vedas and Quran also. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So question is how the Abrahamic religion got the actual scriptures begin.
Abrahamic religions, you're saying?
I think all these three, Christianity, Jews, and Muslim, they come. It's called Abrahamic.
Yes, they're all based on Abraham.
Yeah. Oh, it started from Abraham.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a Christian scholar, but you have the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. The Old Testament, those were histories that were old from thousands of years before. There are many of those histories, but at a certain point, certain scholars got together and said these are the ones that are the prominent ones that we accept as part of the Bible.
Mhm.
And in the Old Testament, you'll find there's all these different rules and regulations about what you can eat. And if you're going to kill animals, you have to take the blood out and all these kinds of kosher laws. That's where the Jews come up with kosher laws. The in the New Testament of Christianity is supposedly written by various followers of Lord Jesus Christ sometime after his passing. 50, 60 years later, they wrote. And the Quran, because Muhammad was illiterate, that it was during his adulthood, he used to go in caves and meditate and pray. And supposedly, according to their understanding, that an angel came and dictated the Quran to him, and he remembered it, he memorized it, and then he dictated it to his followers, and one of them wrote it down. Although it's generally transmitted by memory. That's why in Islam they have schools where the kids memorize all the surahs of the Quran. They sit and they memorize it. Just like the Vedas, they used to have Vedas where the kids would just memorize the Veda, 1 Veda, 2 Veda, 3 Veda, chant it, memorize that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So Abraham is the initiator of Abrahamic religion, but because everything comes from the Vedas, the knowledge, so he must also be connected with the Vedas. Old Testaments must be coming from the Vedas.
somehow, although it's not, we don't exactly the method how. So their history is that, there was Adam, okay, and Adam, he was the first man, and he had his descendants. Bum 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 bum. Finally, one of those descendants, after some time, was Abraham. And Abraham had his wife Sarah, and Sarah had no children, no offspring. So Abraham had a servant girl. The family had a servant. Her name was Hagar. So he asked permission from Sarah if he could have relations with Hagar to have a child. So she gave permission. So the servant girl Hagar became pregnant, and there was a son born, and that son was Ishmael. You know this? Ishmael. So then what happened was, but then Sarah got pregnant after that. Oh, so she was a little jealous. So she said, get rid of Hagar and her son. I don't want them around. So when Sarah, Sarah was pregnant, she had her son. Well, her son was, I'm forgetting, I think it's Isaac. Isaac. Anyway. But so Hagar and Ishmael went out into were rejected by Abraham. They went out into the desert, and there was no water, so they were praying to God, and that same angel who later spoke with Muhammad came and made a well in the desert for to save them from death. And then later, Abraham, feeling a little guilty perhaps, he came there to see Hagar and Ishmael, and built a little fort at that place. And you know what that place is? Mecca. That's Mecca, where that well is. And when Abraham came there, they say that when Adam left paradise, somehow he left paradise originally, and he was given a stone to worship by God. And that stone was passed down from Adam to his descendants up to Abraham. So Abraham gave that stone to Hagar and Ishmael. And that stone is what they worship in the Kaaba at Mecca. That stone. So they circumambulate the stone and they kiss the stone if they're allowed to. And it's so that's the Abraham background. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Everyone claims that it's Shivalinga, and nowadays,
it's a black stone. Some say Shivalinga, some say, but and then technically, because you'll ask the people from Islam, why, if you say you can't worship any image, so why are you worshiping the stone in the Kaaba? So they say, oh, we don't worship. We just give respect, but we don't worship. Anyway, they have their statement. But anyway, respect means some kind of worship. Okay, and they have their philosophy about that. So in this case with Lord Chaitanya and the Chand Kazi, he didn't start off with Vedas. He started off with common sense. You don't kill your mother. What kind of religion kills your mother? And then there can be all kinds of sophistry about why it's okay, why it might be okay in this circumstance or that circumstance. But when it comes down to it, the argument is a very strong argument. What kind of religion authorizes you to kill your mother? Not a very good one. You can make that argument. It's a strong argument. Sophistry aside. So we'll see what the Kazi's reaction is. Next verse.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good.
Jia, text 160. Jia ite pare yadi tabe mare prani Veda Purane ache heno agya vani.
In the Vedas and Puranas, there are injunctions declaring that if one can revive a living being, one can kill it for experimental purposes.
Atayeva Jaradgava Mare Muni Gana Veda Mantre Siddha Kare Tahara Jivana.
Therefore, the great sages sometimes killed old cows, and by chanting Vedic hymns, they brought them back to life for perfection.
Jaradgava Hana Yuva Hoya Aravar Tate Taro Badha Nahe Hoya Upakar.
The killing and rejuvenation of such old and invalid cows was not truly killing, but an act of great benefit.
Kolikale Taiche Sakti Nahi Ko Brahmane Atayeva Gobadha Keha Nakare Khane.
Formerly, there were powerful Brahmins who could make such experiments using Vedic hymns. But now, because of Kali Yuga, Brahmanas are not so powerful. Therefore, the killing of cows and bulls for rejuvenation is forbidden.
Aswamedham, you understand?
Oh, this is Sanskrit. Ashvamedham gavalambham sannyasa paitrakam devarena sutotpatting kalo panchavivarjayet. In this age of Kali, 5 acts are forbidden: the offering of a horse in sacrifice, the offering of a cow in sacrifice, the acceptance of the order of sannyas, the offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children in his brother's wife. Purport. This is a quotation from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Krishna Janma Kanda 185, 180. You know, these verses here from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Ashvamedha Gavalamban, we see that nowadays also people, when they want to test a certain drug or procedure, the first thing they do, you know what they do first?
They test on animals?
Yes. That's the standard procedure. First, you have to experiment on the animals and see what the result is first. And then if it makes a good show with the animals, it doesn't kill them, then it might be approved for humans. Of course, here, Lord Chaitanya is emphasizing that there was no killing, or the killing wasn't truly killing because they could revive them, which is a big deal. It takes a bit of faith to accept this, because in our ordinary day-to-day life, we don't see people being revived and getting new bodies. By the wonders of modern medicine, sometimes you can shock a person back to life by CPR, but they don't get a new body. So this is something very special. And another point here is, along with the Ashvamedha and Gavalamban, another point is what else is mentioned there is sannyasa. Sannyas is forbidden. So how is that? That if sannyas is forbidden, we have so many sannyasis in ISKCON. What is that, a misunderstanding of this Vedic injunction? What do you say?
Okay, I think Prabhupada said that we give sannyas to help preaching or something.
So, Lord Chaitanya is quoting this, of course.
For preaching purposes.
Yes. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments about this, that in quoting this verse, Lord Chaitanya he was quoting it, the purpose was to emphasize there's no horse sacrifice or cow sacrifice nowadays. He wasn't emphasizing the sannyas. And he said that this Brahma Vaivarta Purana is a Rajasic Purana, and the sannyas mentioned in this verse is karma sannyas by pure Vedic Brahmins. That doesn't happen. But Pancharatriki sannyas is certainly done. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiya sasanyasi cha yogi cha nanyadagnir na chakriya. Someone who wants to dedicate their service and their lives to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, that kind of sannyas, Lord Krishna certainly supports. So if it were really forbidden, Vaishnava sannyas, then how is it that all the four main acharyas in the four disciplic successions, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Vishnu Swami, and Nimbarka Swami, they're all sannyasis, and they're all in Kali Yuga. Not only that, Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master was a sannyasi. He himself took sannyas. All of his followers are sannyasis. So that's how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur addressed that point. Others have said that, they put more emphasis on that there shouldn't be sannyas, but no. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada following him gave those explanations. Does that make sense?
Yes. So we can understand that it is referring to that sannyas ashram in varnashrama system. It is referring to those dharma, brahmacharya, grahastha, vanprastha, sannyas, and looks like it's not possible for people take sannyas in that way.
He specifically says karma sannyas, and I looked that up, and it's a little, but it's when people are following the Vedic system from birth.
And isn't it varnashrama system is also karma sannyas?
It can be, yeah.
I think that's the only it refers to, nothing else there. But yeah, thank you for clarification.
Okay. Next 165.
Tomaro jiaite nara baddha matra sara naraka hoite tomar nahi kanishtar.
Since you Muslims cannot bring killed cows back to life, you are responsible for killing them. Therefore, you are going to hell. There is no way for your deliverance. That's a strong statement, isn't it?
Very strong statement.
Yeah, because Chand Kazi is saying, according to the Muslim scriptures, the Quran, it's okay to kill cows, and it's if according to the directions given there, that's halal. Remember, halal.
Yeah.
Actually, halal is very restrictive, but now it's become more. But because you can't bring the killed cows back to life, you're going to hell, and there's no way for your deliverance. Very interesting. Go ahead.
And the point is, it is coming from Krishna himself.
Yes.
Everybody would have given different opinions. Okay, that's understood. But now it's Lord's opinion itself that people have to suffer even though you're practicing religion. And religion is to please him. Religion is to attain him. Religion is to love him. Still, one cannot be with him, but it looks like they will be away from him. It's really bewildering. There's no way for your deliverance coming directly from the Lord.
So we see Srila Prabhupada has argued many times that because of the slaughter of so many animals, there's always strife in human society and between different societies, because it's the reaction from so much slaughter of animals that therefore the wars, all these kinds of things are going on continuously.
So we'll 166.
Yeah.
Goange yataloma tata sabasara govadi raurava madhye pache nirantara.
Cow killers are condemned to rot in hellish life for as many thousands of years as there are hairs on the body of the cow. A lot of hairs.
तमास बार शास्त्रकर्ता सेहा भ्रांत हैला ना जानी शास्त्रेर मर्म आइचे आज्ञा दिला.
There are many mistakes and illusions in your scriptures. Their compilers, not knowing the essence of knowledge, gave orders that were against reason and argument.
Krishna is finding defect in Quran then.
Yes. So not only Quran, but also, I mean, the Bible is the Old Testament as well. I mean, we can think about that. One thing is the understanding. What is the understanding of the soul given in those scriptures? In Bhagavad Gita, we find a clear conception of the soul, and the soul is present in all living things. If it's not present, if so, in that discussion I sent out last week between Srila Prabhupada and Cardinal Daniel Lu, Cardinal Daniel Lu was arguing from his background that animals, they have an animal soul and humans have a human soul, two different kinds of souls. Yeah? So when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it's a person who sees different kinds of souls in different bodies, that person is in the mode of passion. Okay. Yeah, so there's the animal soul, a plant soul, an insect soul, all different. But so anyway, there's the idea of where does life come from, and then the idea of what is God or who is God. These things, they're clear conceptions given in Bhagavad Gita, but not as clear otherwise.
Is this in the Old Testament about the soul, different soul types of soul?
It's like I say, I'm not a Christian scholar. We have to ask Christians, but generally speaking, they don't have a clear conception of what's the difference between the soul and the body. It's the soul and the body are somehow together. So when, like for example, when they have the resurrection, the Christians have the second coming of Jesus Christ, and so then often you see people. There's the second coming of Jesus Christ. Then people will be, they'll come out of their graves and go back to heaven, and their bodies will come out of the graves. So there's this conception that the body and the soul there's a eternal connection, although the body is changing from childhood. Which body goes in? Childhood body, baby body, old man body, medium body. But so this is confusing.
And Old Testament is saying for all three, right?
What do you mean?
Christianity must.
Yes.
So that's the same concept. Everyone has the same concept of burying the body and identifying the body as the self.
Well, not exactly just only the body. There's the soul and the body are somehow together.
Right.
There's an interesting article in the Dandavats.com about the conception of reincarnation in Christianity and why it's not accepted in Christianity. It's written by somebody, some doctoral student in Notre Dame University. I read that. I didn't think it was a very good article, but it does lay out their ideas about why they believe in the certain way they believe. It's probably worthwhile to read to understand from a Christian point of view the idea of the soul. They have the idea that human life is unique. So it's unique, and so to say that human soul, or a soul in a human body goes into an animal body, this is just beyond the sensibilities, because human life is so unique. Well, we also say human life is unique. We say human life is unique in that in this human form of life, you have the opportunity, we have the opportunity to become Krishna conscious, whereas the animals, they can't be Krishna conscious. Generally speaking, animals no. So there's a uniqueness. So it's not just Christianity that believes that human life is unique, but the way it's unique is that it gives you the facility to be advanced in spiritual life, which is not there when the soul is in the animal body. But anyway, those things are there. So there's different views about that.
Yeah, I look normal. 168.
Yeah.
Oh, I can read. Okay.
Yeah.
নিস্তব্ধ হইলা কাজী নাহি স্ফুরে বাণী বিচারিয়া কহে কাজী পরাভাব মানি.
After hearing these statements by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Kazi, his argument stunned, could not put forward any more words. Thus, after due consideration, the Kazi accepted defeat and spoke as follows. Purport. In our practical preaching work, we meet many Christians who talk about the statements of the Bible. When we question whether God is limited or unlimited, Christian priests say that God is unlimited. But when we question why the unlimited God should have only one son and not unlimited sons, they are unable to answer. Similarly, from a scientific point of view, the answers of the Old Testament, New Testament, and Quran to many questions have changed. Ho-ho. But a Shastra cannot change at a person's whim. All Shastras must be free from the four defects of human nature. The statements of Shastras must be correct for all time. Change. Interestingly, in some of the early Christian fathers, they taught the concept of reincarnation. So, but about 300 years after Jesus Christ's leaving, that teaching was suppressed. It kept resurfacing over the years in various traditions, and sometimes the result was that those people who believed that were killed in inquisitions and other things. But so it's interesting, Prabhupada says that the questions have changed. So this question of the soul and its identity is likely changed. Okay. I think that's good for today. Lord Chaitanya still, he says that the Kazi accepted defeat, even though he was a Maulana, a learned Muslim scholar, and the spiritual master of Nawab Hussain Shah. So he accepted defeat from Lord Chaitanya. Very smart person. Thank you all. Well, 169 next time.
Thank you.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhye bacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Hare Krishna.
His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna.